but just thoughts on the midterms, because we haven't spoken since the midterms.
Sure.
How significant do you feel like it is that, a party in power in the White House hasn't held on to so many seats in however many decades,
Right.
and did, and what do you think it says about Biden's agenda? Like, what does it say about what was accomplished? Are we thanking the Inflation Reduction Act here? Yeah.
Well,
And David, before you answer, just please make sure that whatever your analysis is agrees with what Francesca and I thought before the midterms.
Yes.
as long as it meets your priors.
Yeah.
I think there are a few things. First of all, this was an unusual election in that the biggest policy change, the thing that broke through to voters, was not accomplished by the party in power. It was actually accomplished by the minority party, and that was the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Yeah.
And so there was a backlash to things that happened over the last 2 years, but it was not done by Democrats. It was that which was pulled off by Republicans. And so that played, a major role. I think the second major role is obviously candidate quality. The fact that you had all these election deniers and January 6 freaks that were running for office. You can see pretty clearly that they got struck down in race after race. The third thing is, which I think is actually very interesting, is that things like the Inflation Reduction Act or the infrastructure bill or the American Rescue Plan did not play a role to a large degree in the election at all. And that's actually an achievement of sorts for Democrats, because what we've seen in the past is that politically, if they pass a major piece of legislation, they feel an immediate backlash from the electorate, the Affordable Care Act being the biggest example of that. But the IRA did not play that way. It did not play in the same fashion, even though it was certainly a bill that you could talk about in the terms of the Green New Deal, or you can talk about in terms of raising energy prices. It's not entirely true, but you could fashion a response if you're a Republican. They didn't do it because this is not really a policy interested or policy driven party anymore. It's a party that's filled with anger about cultural grievances and just sort of demonizes over its various issues. So policy is no longer that as polarizing in an electoral context. And that's actually a good thing for Democrats to know, right? Because when they get back in again and get a majority, they don't have to worry about like the reaction to putting in something that would be better for the country.
I mean, it also means that you shouldn't pass a Green New Deal. You should pass a long-term debt relief, future generation debt relief, like plan or some shit like that. That is nothing, but it is about climate change, but it's just about life insurance policies. I don't know, think of a fucking name, because the Inflation Reduction Act was not necessarily that. There was all this climate stuff that was snuck in there.
It was hard to demonize. Well, I mean, it was hard on both sides, right? Because throughout, when it was called Build Back Better, it was hard to message to people because it had 50 different things in it.
Right.
When it finally got narrowed down and then got this name that has no bearing on what it actually does, it was also difficult from the other side for Republicans to sort of demonize it because nobody really knows what's in it.
Right. You got to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Read the American Prospect, everybody. Yeah.
But, I mean, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars in investment going towards, transitioning the country to clean energy. And so if that doesn't spur a backlash, that's a pretty good thing. And so, that was successful. Now, parts, I think, of that bill did get demonized within the election context, the biggest one being the funding for the IRS. And I think if anything is going to be gone after that was in the Inflation Reduction Act, it's going to be that $80 billion in funding for the IRS, which they said will unleash 87,000 agents poking into your every bit of your financial life and whatnot. And so that is, I think, now that we know that Republicans have the House, they're going to use a bunch of must-pass bills to create hostage situations to try to, deal with things like that.
What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do